The Beauty and the Beast magical fairy tale story of love and transformation. Once upon a time, in a far distant land, there lived a wealthy merchant who shared his home with his three beautiful daughters. The youngest was far more graceful, kind, and gentle than her sisters, and everyone affectionately called her Beauty. In contrast, her older sisters were vain, selfish, and often jealous, caring more about spending their father's fortune than about anything else. Beauty, however, was different. She was humble and pure-hearted, and she often dreamed of a handsome prince who would one day come for her, and whom she would love and marry, living in a magnificent palace filled with happiness and peace. Her life seemed peaceful and full of hope, until fate took a cruel turn. One day, her father lost all his wealth after a disastrous financial setback. His ships were ruined, and everything he owned was gone. The family, once rich, became poor overnight. "My dear daughter, we're no longer wealthy," he said sadly. "Don't worry, father," Beauty replied gently. "We will find a way through this. I only care about you." Touched by her kindness, he knew she was his greatest treasure. Soon after, their servants left the house, and the family was forced to live in hardship. Beauty took care of the household, while her sisters only complained and grew more bitter each day. Then, one day, news arrived that one of the merchant's ships had finally returned to port. Hope briefly returned to his heart. "I must go and see what has come back," he said. "Tell me, my daughters, what should I bring you?" His older daughters demanded expensive dresses and jewels, but Beauty only said softly, "Father, all I want is for you to return safely." Still, after some thought, she added, "If it is not too much trouble, please bring me a rose." Her father agreed and set off for the port. But when he arrived, he discovered that the ship had been looted and all cargo was gone. Heartbroken and empty-handed, he began his journey home. Lost in sorrow and thought, he wandered off his path and ended up deep inside a dense forest. Snow began to fall heavily, covering everything in white. His horse could no longer move, so he continued on foot until he saw a glowing light in the distance. It was a grand, mysterious palace. The gates opened on their own, and inside he found warmth, food, and shelter, though no one appeared to be there. Exhausted, he ate, rested, and slept peacefully. The next morning, everything was prepared for him again: food, clothes, and comfort. After thanking his unknown host, he prepared to leave. But as he stepped outside, he noticed a garden full of roses. Remembering his promise to Beauty, he picked one. At that very moment, a terrifying roar echoed behind him. A fearsome beast appeared, huge, with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth. "Who gave you permission to pick my roses?" the beast growled. "After I welcomed you into my home, is this how you repay me?" Terrified, the merchant explained everything: his ruined fortune and his promise to his daughter. The beast listened, then made an offer. "I will spare your life on one condition," he said. "One of your daughters must come here willingly and take your place." The merchant agreed in despair and returned home, devastated. When he told his daughters what had happened, they were horrified, except for Beauty. "I will go," she said calmly. "I caused this by asking for the rose." Despite her father's protests, Beauty insisted. Eventually, she set off for the castle on a magical horse sent by the beast. When she arrived, she found the palace just as magnificent as before, warm, welcoming, and filled with wonders. The beast greeted her politely and told her she was free to roam the palace, though she could never leave unless she promised to return. Days passed, and though she was afraid at first, Beauty discovered that the beast was kind, gentle, and thoughtful. Every evening he asked her the same question: "Will you marry me?" And every time she refused, he quietly left without anger. As time went on, Beauty grew comfortable and even fond of him. They talked, played music, and shared peaceful moments in the gardens. Slowly, fear turned into understanding. But one day, Beauty missed her father terribly. Seeing her sadness, the beast allowed her to visit her family for a week on the condition that she return. Back home, her father was overjoyed and her sisters were shocked to see her living in luxury. Yet days passed quickly, and Beauty forgot the passing time. One night, she had a terrible dream, the Beast lying weak and dying. Frightened, she immediately returned to the palace using a magical ring. There, she found him nearly lifeless. Believing she had failed him, she cried and held him, realizing how deeply she cared for him. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I never understood my feelings until I thought I had lost you." The Beast slowly awakened. "Do you truly care for someone as ugly as me?" "Yes," Beauty replied. "Your heart is kind, and that is all that matters." At that moment, she agreed to marry him. A brilliant light filled the room, and the Beast transformed into a handsome prince. He explained that a curse had turned him into a monster, and only true love could break it. Beauty's kindness and love had freed him. They returned to her family, and soon a grand wedding was held. Happiness filled the kingdom, and they lived together in peace.